Good evening. Welcome to the July 16th, 2026 meeting of the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners. If everyone would stand with us, please, I'll call on our Commission Chaplain, Romel McMurray, to lead us in our invocation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Right after I pray, I'll have Mr. Jacob Vinson, who will be leading our Pledge of Allegiance. He's a graduate of the Blackman High School, and he's the guest of Commissioner Trey Gooch. So if you would, please, bow your heads. Most gracious and all-wise God, we give you all the glory, the honor, and the praise. We thank you for allowing us to gather in this chamber yet again one more time. Thank you for the freedom of living in the United States and here in the state of Tennessee. We thank you for our community, our county, and our entire state. For we know without unity, there's no community. Lord, I ask that you bless those that are here in attendance this evening. May your grace and your mercy continue to be upon us all. Lord, I ask and I pray over our schools, our teachers, and our administrators as they get ready to head back to school this fall. I pray that no weapon formed against them shall prosper this school year and beyond. I pray that you remove any drugs, any weapons, and any disorderly behavior that may try to arise during the school year. May your peace and covering saturate every school campus across this county, all the way from Laverne, Smyrna, Murfreesboro, Rockville, Eagleville, and in between. I pray that every student succeeds inside the schoolhouse just as well inside their own house. I pray for our teachers. May you give them strength to teach our students what they should be teaching and what you say to. When they get tired, allow them to keep pressing on every single day. We thank you, Lord, for our school resource officers. Grant them the wisdom to make well-informed decisions to protect our students and our staff. Dear God, we just want to say thank you. As we approach this election season, I ask that you be in the middle of it all. Place those where you want to be placed. I pray for smooth and fair results and safety while everyone is exercising their right to vote. No matter whether you're a Republican, Democrat, or Independent, we are all a child of God, and we shall remain one Rutherford. I ask that you be with our first responders, our military, as they strive to protect and serve us all. Lastly, I ask that you continue to heal our land. Bless Rutherford County, the state of Tennessee, and the United States of America. It's in your name that we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. 3 white stars on a field of blue. God keep them strong and ever true. It is with pride and love that we salute the flag of Tennessee.
Commissioner Gooch.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and colleagues. So Jacob, who did our pledge to our flag, graduated from Blackman High School this past spring, and he's already got a big portion of his life mapped out. That will be to leave this August for San Antonio to do boot camp with the Air Force, and then after that to Pensacola, Florida to continue his training. And so tonight I want to say, Jacob, that it is men like you and many men and women before you that makes our country safe and strong and great. So on behalf of Chairman Phillips and the County Board of Commissioners, we wish you safe travels and Godspeed. And God bless you.
So I want to be brief in this recognition of Jacob Vinson and his family. His father is a Rutherford County employee with the maintenance department. And as you know, the maintenance department's one of our favorite departments. They take care of all of us all the time. The fact that you're going into the Air Force is not lost on me personally. I know there are many branches of our military service that we can serve in, whether it's Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force, Coast Guard, what have you, but the Air Force is the best. The reason it's the best is because my father was a 20-year fighter pilot serving combat tours in Vietnam and Korea. And so congratulations, but if you'll indulge me for just a minute, how proud we are of you, Jacob Vincent. Choosing to serve our country is a remarkable commitment that reflects your courage, discipline, and willingness to put something greater than yourself first, because that's what it means to serve. Thank you. This new chapter will bring challenges, long days, and moments that test your strength. That's a good thing. It will also bring opportunities to grow, build lifelong friendships, and accomplish things you may never have imagined possible. Trust in your training. Believe in your abilities. And remember why you chose this path. While you're away, know that you have people back home who are thinking about you and praying for you and cheering you on every step of the way. We know there will be sacrifices, but we also know that you have the determination and character to overcome every obstacle. Stay focused. Stay safe. Never lose sight of the values that make you who you are. Wear your uniform with pride, knowing that your service truly makes a profound difference. We look forward to hearing about your experiences and celebrating your accomplishments and successes. Until then, remember that no matter where the Air Force takes you, you'll always have our love and our support. I, as Rutherford County Mayor, this County Board of Commissioners, congratulate you on this incredible achievement, wishing you strength, success, and safety as you begin this exciting journey. Congratulations.
Thank you.
This is for you. Thank you.
I just wanted to thank Commissioner Gooch and Mayor Carr for inviting my family and I to read the reading of this letter, and thank all of y'all for coming as well.
This time I'll call on our Rutherford County Clerk, Lisa Crowell, to call the roll. Lisa, please.
Present.
Here. Here. Here.
Here.
Here. Present.
Here.
Here. Here. Present. Here. 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 Here.
Present.
Here. Yeah.
Thank you, Lisa. This time I'll call on our Chairman Pro Tem Trey Gooch for the reading and approval of our June meeting minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and colleagues. I have reviewed the minutes and find them to be in order. My motion is to dispense with the reading and approve them as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Motion to approve carries. Thank you. Item F, resolution of recognition and sympathy for former Tennessee Senator Jim Tracy. And I'll also call on Chairman Pro Tem Trey Gooch.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't see any, but is anyone here from Senator Tracy's family or? Okay, this is a resolution expressing sympathy upon the passing of former Tennessee State Senator Jim Tracy and recognizing his dedicated public service to the citizens of Tennessee. Whereas former Tennessee State Senator Jim Tracy devoted many years of distinguished public service to the people of Tennessee, representing his constituents with integrity, dedication, and a steadfast commitment to improving the lives of those he served. And whereas throughout his tenure in the Tennessee General Assembly, Senator Tracy worked diligently on behalf of his community and the state of Tennessee, earning the respect of his colleagues, constituents, and public servants through his thoughtful leadership, professionalism, and collaborative spirit. And whereas Senator Tracy's legacy of public service extended way beyond legislative accomplishments, reflecting his deep commitment to civil to civic responsibility, community engagement, and the principle of honest and faithful leadership. And whereas his life serves as an enduring example of service above self, leaving a lasting impact on his family, friends, colleagues, and the countless citizens whose lives were touched by his work. And whereas the members of this governing body desire to honor the memory of Senator Jim Tracy and express their heartfelt sympathy to his family and loved ones during this time of loss. Now therefore be it resolved that Joe Carr, Rutherford County Mayor, and the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners hereby extend its deepest sympathy and sincere condolences to the family of former State Senator Jim Tracy. And be it further resolved that this governing body gratefully recognize Senator Tracy's years of faithful and distinguished public service, his unwavering commitment to the people of Tennessee, and his lasting contribution to the betterment of his community and his state. Be it further resolved that this resolution be spread upon the official minutes of this body, and that a copy be presented to the family of former Senator Jim Tracy as a lasting expression of our respect, gratitude, and remembrance. And I've resolved this day, 16th July, 2026.
Do you have a motion? Is that a motion?
Yes, sir.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Item G, letter presentation, call on Lisa Kay.
Good evening, Chairman Phillips, Commissioners, Mayor Joe Carr, and everyone in attendance. I'm Lisa Kay, Public Information Officer for Rutherford County, and I'm joined this evening by a person that talks trash all day long, Solid Waste Administrative Assistant, Ms. Bobby Langford. She's the face behind the voice that you hear when you call and ask questions about recycling or can I take this to the convenience center. That's Ms. Bobby. Our solid waste director, Matt Davis, had a scheduling conflict, so he couldn't join us. And then, standing beside her is Lieutenant Jason Peralta from the Correctional Work Center. He is in charge of the crews that actually do the heavy lifting. And then, if we can't answer your questions at the end, we have Superintendent Bill Cope from the Correctional Work Center in the audience who will save us if we are at a loss for words. Please hold your questions until after my 428th slide. I'd appreciate that. Next slide, please. Go ahead, please. Next slide. So this is our litter grant team. And as you know, Rutherford County participates in the Tennessee Department of Transportation litter grant program, where they give all 95 counties money from the soft drink and malt beverage industries. They gave their first grants in 1983. And this is our litter team. And if you'll advance the slide, please. These are the other departments that help us do what we do. And I just wanted you to see how it is a collaborative effort for all of Rutherford County to try to combat this litter issue. Next slide, please. Next slide. Thank you. So I want to show some before and after photos. And I was privileged enough to present at Public Works. And Chairman Johnson is an advocate supporter of our litter program and recycling and such. And you'll notice, if you saw that presentation, this one is a tad different because we removed the streets. So please know, all of these before and after pictures are from places in Rutherford County. This crew also removes dead animals, but due to the graphic nature of those photos, and I didn't want to puke while I was trying to present, I'm not sharing those. But no, they take care of that as well. Next slide, please. Next slide. Next. Next, please. Okay, stop right here. Every time I see this, I just don't understand who thinks that's okay. Next slide, please. It's the couch, construction materials. Next slide. And then that's how the litter crew left it. Next slide. Next. 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 Next, please. Mattresses, trash, miscellaneous trash. Next. Next, please. One more. Next. Another couch, love seat. That looks like a love seat. Next. Next. Next, please. Next. 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 Happens even in the winter. Next. Next. Okay, and that's a boat, if you can't see that. That's a boat. Next slide. Next. So in 2025, those are the totals on county roads. 126,165 pounds. And then on state routes, you can see the figure there as well. Next slide, please. And this is for May and June of this year. They say a picture's worth 1,000 words, so you see Lieutenant Peralta and his crews have been really busy. And I'm going to step aside and let him discuss these community service projects that his crews take care of.
Good evening. As many may know, I'm Lieutenant Jason Peralta, but for the ones that do know, now you can put a face with a name. Superintendent Cope asked me to reach out to each and every one of the commissioners to see what we can do in your community as far as litter pickup or community service projects. I want to thank the county commissioners that reached back out to me. Working together as a whole, as a team, we can make Rutherford County clean. So please reach out to our facility, myself. You have my contact information. We strive to make sure our community stays clean at all times. My litter crew, I want to say they do an excellent job. Officer Johnson, Tony Tate, Neil Wyman, Curtis Manus, Robert Burkhart. They're the ones out there doing the grunt work. So anytime that you drive by and you may see them, stop by and say thank you. It goes a long way. And I appreciate your time. Again, if you have any further questions, you have my number.
Thank you, Lieutenant Peralta. Next slide, please. So let's take a look at our other litter grant activities. We do a lot of activities in the schools and at community events. And you'll see on there, our solid waste director is with a group of students, and he had them engaged because we did a litter grant recycling game, and you would be surprised at the questions and how engaged they were and how they could tell what goes to recycling and what goes into the trash. And so just to let you know also what we do in the classrooms when we have time, we do a litter cheer in hopes that they will learn the cheer, and then they'll take this cheer home and it'll start a conversation with their parents. So join me once you get it. I don't litter. I don't litter. I don't litter. I don't litter. So my goal is to do that at every class, so when they go home, they start saying, I don't litter. And then it just starts the conversation. Next slide, please. This is one of the community events where we went to the farmer's market. And you'll see where we give out different shirts, books, and things talking about keeping Rutherford County clean. Next slide, please. This is at the farmers market around the historic courthouse square. Next slide, please. And this was a special commemorative shirt that we gave out 2 weeks ago. We engaged with literally 1,000 people between those two farmers market events. Next slide, please. These events give us an opportunity to engage with the public and also dispel any misinformation that may be going around and answer questions, and it gives us an opportunity firsthand to see what topics are top of mind for them. Next slide, please. I've had the pleasure of working some of these events with Miss Bobby, and right now she's going to share what questions the Solid Waste Department gets a lot, and she has to answer.
Yes, on a daily basis, it's about electronics, paint, hazardous waste, where the center's located. They ask a lot of questions about the transfer station, and it's just a daily basis, and hopefully I can give them all the information they need. If I don't, I tell them I will get back to them, and I do get questions, and I do get calls about couches and stuff dumped on the side of the road, and I will email Lieutenant Peralta, and he gets right on it, and we're so appreciative of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So you'll see, commissioners, at your seats, you have a bag, and that is a car litter bag. It's made out of recycled plastic. And then there are 2 shirts in there, and then in the white box, there's a tumbler. So please take those materials and use them and help spread the message. And also, everyone in the audience today, before you leave, I've placed T-shirts and car litter bags right by the agenda podium. Please make sure you get one before you leave, because we want you to help us spread the message, and we want you to help us keep Tennessee beautiful. Are there any questions? Yes, Commissioner James.
During this Don't Litter campaign, have you found or identified any ways that we can improve our convenience centers to make them, well, a little bit more convenient to help prevent some of this dumping on the side of the street?
We do have trail cams hidden outside or in Rutherford County disclosed locations, so that's a big deterrent. I've noticed since we put those up, we haven't had as much illegal dumping, but occasionally we still have it, though.
Anything else? Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Lacey. It's now time for public comments. We've had 2 individuals to sign up. First on our list is Amanda Hernandez, and her topic is the new county jail. We'll remind you, when you come up, you'll have 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Amanda Hernandez, and I am here in opposition to the proposed property acquisition off South Church Street via eminent domain. There are 2 prominent reasons for my dissent. First is the obvious existence of wetlands on the property that will require a wetland delineation to determine whether anything can be built on the property. This will require coordination with the Tennessee Natural Heritage Program to survey for the presence of rare plants and the Tennessee Wildlife Resource Agency to research the existence of endangered or threatened animal species. The proposed reimbursement amount for this land acquisition is between $14 million and $18 million. If this commission votes to force the owners off their land before conducting a survey with the permission of said owner, that is money, our money, wasted that could have been used for improvements to the community like fixing roads or investing in our schools. Do you feel good about having to explain to taxpayers during an election cycle that you chose to spend millions of dollars on a maybe? My second point of contention is that the land in question is approximately 3,000 feet from Riverdale High School on a direct line. I do not believe parents who drop their children off every morning with the reasonable expectation of some semblance of safety would be happy to know that there will be a jail not far away. Did you consider putting out a public notice to the community before moving ahead with this plan? To comply with the Sunshine Law, TCA Section 8-44-103, adequate public notice must be given before meetings where projects such as this are discussed. I don't remember receiving notice or any notice being published about the prior meeting. I found out because I pay attention to what this commission is doing, because I have seen so much done in a rushed and secretive manner, like the executive session where it was decided to make this acquisition. If you want to move forward with land acquisition, do the right thing and duly inform the public. But I, for one, regardless, am in opposition to this purchase, especially against the wishes of the landowner. Eminent domain hurts everyone, and for a group that professes local control and the desire for state to stop handing down unfunded mandates, it is shocking to see you decide to trample on the rights of a property owner.
Next is Carson Boland. His topic is prison being built.
Oh, okay. Hello, my name is Carson. I'm in opposition to the new jail being built for just a couple different reasons I'm going to go through one at a time on. When looking at our current jail capacity numbers, it's definitely over capacity. I believe the number I saw recently was it's at something about 1,000 people. But then I was digging deeper into that number, and I discovered that about half of that population is in there on misdemeanor charges, which are charges such as petty theft, trespassing, public intoxication. These are not crimes that are not necessarily like inherently like going to cause major issues for these people in a public society, right? It's not anything like murder and nothing like that. Now, these are crimes that are non-serious, and when looking at that, and we have a budget, not a budget, we have a overcapacity issue at our prison. I would propose that instead of expanding our jail cells to put more people who shouldn't even be in jail, we should instead look at a community service program for people who have committed these misdemeanors. When you look at the rates of recidivism, that means people who are rearrested after serving their jail sentence, people experience a lower rate of recidivism when they experience community service rather than jail time. If our long-term goal in this community is to reduce the rates of which crimes are occurring, expanding our jail cell is not actually effective to that end. Instead, creating a community service to allow people a different path to pay for whatever crime they may have committed would lead to a better result. And also, with the money the county would save on the decreased inmate numbers, that could then be used for the upgrades that are needed at the current sites. I think the building of a new jail not only harms more people in our local community, I think it is also a bad economic decision and a bad social decision, as it forces more of people in our community who just need a second to get on their feet to be present with us. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Item I, elections and confirmations. I'll call on steering vice chair, Commissioner Pettis Reed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Elections and confirmations. We only have one item. Item 1 brings to the attention of the commissioners the election of requested notaries in Rutherford County for July 2026. Commissioners, listing of your notaries may be found on your iPad. Mr. Chairman, I move to confirm the election of these individuals as Rutherford County notaries.
I have a motion and a second to confirm the list of notaries. Any questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion to approve carries. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, this concludes the business of elections and confirmations.
Thank you, Commissioner Reed. Item J, resolution to approve the consent agenda. Once again, I'll call on our Chairman Pro Tem Trey Gooch.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and colleagues. At this time, I have reviewed the consent agenda and find everything to be appropriate. There's been no request to remove anything at this time. My motion is to approve the consent agenda as presented, please.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any comments? For this, commissioners will be on the board. If you would, please cast your vote.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, or anyone who would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Record the vote.
21 yes.
Motion passes. Thank you. No unfinished business. Item L, no public hearings tonight. I don't see Doug DeMasi here, so we'll move along. Standing committees, without objection, I'm going to move Budget, Finance, and Investment to the end of standing committee reports, and item 2, M2, would be Public Safety Committee. Chairman Pettis-Reed.
We have no report, but the next meeting will be Monday, July 27th at 5:30 in this room.
Thank you. Item M3, Health and Education Committee, Chairman Phil Dodd.
Likewise, we have no report tonight. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, July 28th, 2026 at 5:30 p.m.
Thank you, Chairman. Item M4, Property Management Committee, Chairman Alan McAdoo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have no report tonight, and our next meeting will be July the 30th at 5:30 p.m.
Thank you. Item M5, Public Works and Planning Committee, Chairman Anthony Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have no report tonight. Our next meeting will be August the 4th.
Thank you, Chairman. Item M6, Steering Legislative and Governmental Committee, Chairman Craig Harris.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have no report. Our next meeting will be August 3rd.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm going to interrupt this to do a really special shout out. I don't know if any of you have seen some postings on social media, but Chairman Harris is being inducted to the ASA Softball, Tennessee Softball Hall of Fame. Those of you that ever played softball know that that's a pretty big deal. Congratulations, Craig. Okay, M1, Budget, Finance, and Investment Committee, Chairman Robert P.
The first item on our agenda is the pension presentation by the Tennessee Department of Treasury and the discussion of future options. And we've asked Mr. Drew Freeman from the Department of Treasury to give us a presentation, and he can go in depth or he can be brief. Personally, having heard his presentation, I prefer it to be brief, but however, I'd like for him to make his presentation without interruption. After he does his presentation, then ask questions. And if we need to go in more depth at that time, Drew, we'll leave that up to you and how you handle it. Please come on forward.
Michael.
Commissioners, as Drew and James are coming up from the Department of Treasury, I want to thank them for coming, but would like to remind the Commission, they gave a very lengthy, it's about an hour and a half long presentation at our April Budget Committee meeting. Obviously, that's on YouTube. You can go ahead and watch that. One of the reasons we've asked them to come is over the last several years, our pension rate has went up. That's not their fault. It's an actuarial calculation. So, but part of that is it is substantial. This year, our pension cost the county several $1 million to both us and the schools increase. Not to steal Drew's thunder, this presentation involves county employees and school classified employees. That is who this presentation would affect on any options there. Tonight, you do not have a resolution or anything on your iPads. There's no requirement, excuse me, to do anything. And Drew will get into this. If we wish to change, you have to do something 6 months in advance. There's a 6 months window, I believe that is correct, Drew. But I just wanted this body to know there's no resolution in front of you. You can take action after this if you would like. We could not take any action. And just to reiterate what the chairman said, they'll go into as much depth on the math and actuarial numbers as you would like. I don't know that anybody wants that tonight. But I just wanted the public to know, too, that April Budget Committee meeting was a very in-depth presentation that got into comparing rates, percentages, and things like that. So if somebody doesn't hear what they want tonight from at home, you can go back and watch that meeting on YouTube if you would like. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
And I think the PowerPoint changes will come from upstairs in OIT, if that's correct.
Okay, yeah, very good. So do you all just want us to press play on the April presentation and y'all watch that and we just head on out of here and have a... no, I'm just kidding, I'm kidding. Thank y'all for letting us be here. It's good to see you all. This is actually the 4th time I've been standing here in the last few months because we had 2 meetings for the Financial Literacy Commission, which y'all so graciously were willing to vote in that resolution. And then we did the Budget Committee, and now I'm with the full commission. So, and this is my colleague, James Armistead. James is based here in Middle Tennessee. He may chime in from time to time. First of all, we're not here to pitch you on anything, all right? James and I's jobs are the same, whether you all make a decision to change something or not. It's just going through what the potential options might look like. I believe Michael said you all have the employer rate sheet showing the employer contribution rate on your devices. I believe he said that was uploaded. And you all did have an employer contribution rate increase. This is as a percentage of payroll. Last year it was 12.35% of payroll. And in the current fiscal year that just started, it's 13.62% of payroll. So one of the key aspects of your existing plan is that it's non-contributory, meaning the employees don't pay in, which is a great benefit to the employee. I would want that if I was the employee. But that does put all the burden to fund the plan on the employer. And Michael, can you remind me how much that over 1% increase in the employer rate affects the budget?
So for about every 1% increase in our pension rate, it is almost a penny on the tax rate, This year it was about between $1 and $1.5 million. So it was almost a full penny every time it moves, almost 1%, and that is just for the county. It also increases the school board's budget as well by just about as much.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to run through this presentation. I will try to hit the high points, and if y'all want to ask questions, we will stay as long as we need to fill those questions. But on the slide, you'll see the Retire Ready branding. That is just the state of Tennessee's programs. So y'all are already in TCRS. You already use the state of Tennessee 401k plan. So you're already in all this stuff. It's just kind of our branding as to who we are. Next slide, please. So who's in the plan? Obviously, we got state employees, we got higher ed, we have teachers, and we have local governments that elect to participate. You all currently have elected to participate in our legacy plan and have for a long time. And it is a local decision as to what plan structure you want to put in place within the menu of options that TCRS provides. Next slide. So the Consolidated Retirement System is a defined benefit plan. This means you're guaranteeing a retirement outcome once a member vests based upon their service and salary. And so because we're defining an outcome and we've decided if the employees are going to contribute or not, all of the ups and downs of the market to pay that promised benefit essentially fall on the employer to fund it. That's why the rate can change. And what we're having is y'all are at a place where you have more people going into retirement, paying out more benefits. Y'all have probably done salary increases recently, also a good thing, but that means we've put pressure on the future benefit of those employees because they're getting paid more. And their benefit is based on their salary and based on their service. And so that is the tricky thing about managing a defined benefit plan. Ours is very well managed, but we're always getting out ahead of issues. And so the whole point of tonight is to help talk through any options you all may have. All right, next slide, please. So what determines the benefit? It's the salary the member earned while they were a member of TCRS. How long did they work in the system? To some degree, how old were they? Or were they old enough to retire? Do they have to take an early reduction on that benefit? And then there's an accrual factor, which is the formula in place for that particular benefit structure. Y'all have the legacy structure right now. We're talking about maybe looking at the hybrid structure. I'll get into the details of those here in a second. Next slide. Then we have the state of Tennessee 401k and 457 plans. Y'all already use this. But the difference is if you go down the route of going into a hybrid plan structure, the 401k becomes a required component of those employees' retirement outlooks. So new school teachers as of 2014 already have to use the hybrid plan. So you already have a lot of people in the county that are on the hybrid plan because they're school teachers. You also have a number of people who work at MTSU who are on the hybrid plan. You also have state employees since 2014 who are also on the hybrid plan. So you have a lot of employers out there that are already using the plan structure that we're going to show you in a minute. All right, next slide, please. And one more. So this is your current plan. So members are non-contributory to TCRS. That means the employer is paying everything to fund their benefit. We have 5-year vesting. Retirement eligibility is age 60 and vested. 5 years is vesting. Or 30 years of service at any age. Actually just got some data today as we're wrapping up our fiscal year. We have over 200 people who are under the age of 50 across all of TCRS plans that are actually retired and we're paying a benefit to. That means they got their 30 years in before they turned age 50 and they retired, and we're going to pay them a benefit for life every month. I also got the data on how many people are over the age of 100 that we are still paying a benefit to every month. And I would love to hear any guesses, but I'll just go ahead and tell you. It's 116. So some of those people may have retired in their 50s. As I mentioned, maybe some before 50. And we have continued to pay that benefit all these years. So it's not just until the money runs out, it's the benefit is for life. So the longer people live, the more upward pressure that actually puts on funding the plan, okay? We also have an early retirement, but that's not really critical for the point of our discussion tonight, so we'll keep moving. So the benefit formula on the next slide is going to show you it's a 1.5% multiplier, roughly. It's 1.575%. That's the percentage of income that the benefit is going to replace for every year of service the member has under that plan. It's basically about 1.5%. So in a 30-year career, it's going to replace about 45% of your pre-retirement income because 30 times 1.5 is 45. 10-year career, it's going to replace about 15%. So you can kind of see how the math works out there on the formula. On the next slide, just a snapshot of what some of those projected benefits might look like for someone with a $50,000 a year average salary. Those are broken down by the annual benefit and the monthly benefit. And you all have access to these slides, so I'll not belabor this too much. All right, if we keep moving, next slide. Let's talk about the hybrid plan, which is an option you all could consider going to. Again, the state already uses it, the teachers already use it. This is an option for local governments. James and I get paid exactly the same whether you change the plan structure or not. It's a local decision. It would also, if put in place, would only affect new hires hired after the go-live date. So if you're an employee of the county and you're already working here, this would never affect you. It only would affect new hires after the date of implementation, which, as we've talked about, is a required at least 6-month delay before it could be effective. Most employers choose, even if you were to vote it in now, to sync it up with the first day of a fiscal year. It's just cleaner. That way your data from all your legacy stuff is, you kind of have a line in the sand as to when the hybrid plan officially went live, which lines up with the fiscal year. All right, so the hybrid plan, here's what it looks like. Next slide. Again, it was effective already, 2014, for teachers, state employees. It's optional for local governments. No pressure here. This is a choice you all could consider. And again, we talked about the 6-month wait. So we'll keep moving. Next slide, please. So here's the plan. It's going to get a little technical, but hang with me. And if you want to hear the really deep dive, the April video might be good. But I'm going to hit the highlights. So it's a 1% benefit formula, which is the TCRS piece of the plan. The retirement eligibility is slightly different than legacy. It's the age 65 invested or the rule of 90, which rule of 90 means age plus service years equals 90. You're not going to have any of those 40-something-year-old retirees in this plan because the math isn't there to get to 90, right? But if you had a 60-year-old who has 30 years of service, 60 plus 30 is 90, that person could retire with an unreduced, unrestricted benefit. They also can retire at age 65 and vested in the plan. The employee pays in 5% of pay. The employer pays in 4% of pay. Those are set.
Then if you look at the 401k piece, the employer puts in 5% of pay into the state of Tennessee's 401k on that employee's behalf. That is required, that is guaranteed, that cannot be negotiated in this plan. Then the employee is auto-enrolled at 2% of their salary into that 401k, and they can change that at any time if they want to. So on the next slide, you'll actually see a snapshot of what that looks like on a chart, which I think visually is a little easier. You have a total of 16% of their salary going toward retirement benefits one day. The employee has a component to both TCRS, and they're auto-enrolled to the 401k. The employer has a required component to both the TCRS as well as to the 401k. So the idea behind hybrid, does anybody drive a hybrid vehicle? It's half gasoline, half electric. This is half TCRS defined benefit and half 401k defined contribution plan. And the idea is they'll have these two buckets of money that will both create income streams in retirement. They're never combined, they're never added together. They're two separate buckets and will pay benefits down the road. Whereas your current plan, it's all TCRS unless they voluntarily save their own money. So that's the difference. It's running two things in tandem here. 5-year vesting in TCRS, immediate vesting in the 401k piece. So as soon as the employer puts that 5% in that employee's account, it's theirs. But they still have to have 5 years of service to vest for the TCRS benefit to be payable. Again, we talked about age 65 invested or rule of 90. There's an early eligibility as well. But again, that's getting more technical for the purposes of tonight. So we'll keep going. Next slide. So this is the defined benefit formula. This is the TCRS formula. It's a 1% multiplier. If y'all remember the legacy plan, it was a 1.575% multiplier. So the guaranteed component of this benefit has a different formula, and it replaces essentially 1% of income per year worked in the system, whereas the legacy plan was 1.575% income replacement. So it was a richer plan. However, that's not the whole story, because if you look on the next slide, you'll see those are the projected benefits for the hybrid, the TCRS part of hybrid, based upon that $50,000 salary. But that is not the full story. If you go to the next slide, you'll see we're also assuming that employee stays in the auto enrollment to the 401k. The 401k grows over time with compounded interest. And in theory, that same employee with a $50,000 salary who's worked 30 years walks away with an account balance, assuming a 6% rate of return of $334,000 in that 401k, which is theirs to use as they wish. So they're also going to get a TCRS benefit, but they're also going to have that account balance. Now, if the rate of return was higher, 8%, 10%, that's a much bigger balance just by staying in the plan. And if y'all are in the private sector and you have 401ks, you know how compound interest can go over time. So the idea is it's a hybrid. It's a TCRS piece, it's a 401k piece. They both will create income streams in retirement for that retiree. All right, moving to the next slide. One more. So this is what is unique about the cost controls in this plan. We essentially set up a rainy day fund or a stabilization reserve fund as a part of the funding of the plan. So if the actuarial rate, the cost eventually goes up, we've got a rainy day bucket to pull from, such that you all, as the employer, will always budget 9% as the payroll impact for any of your hybrid employees. That's 5% to the 401k, which you're required to do, and then 4% to TCRS. And we take advantage of those cost controls and can make some adjustments over time. The member's benefit will be unaffected, but you all will budget the same amount year on year on year for these employees. Again, it doesn't affect any of your people who are already grandfathered into the legacy plan. It will be new hires only, but then you have a set amount based upon your turnover rate that you can ballpark how much that's going to have a budget impact for the county. All right? And I can get as technical as y'all want me to on the cost control piece, but we have kind of a checklist we go through based upon if the costs ever rise on the plan to keep it manageable for y'all from a budget perspective, so you always budget the same amount. Next slide. Again, you'd have to pass a resolution that we would provide if you want to move forward on this. It's actually a couple pieces. There would be a modification to your 401k resolution because now we got to add that auto enroll and the employer money going into the plan, and we would also be modifying the TCRS structure for new hires. Again, it only affects new hires going forward. All right, and this is James' contact information if y'all need anything. So with that, I'm going to stop for a second, and if anyone has questions, we will field as many questions as y'all would like us to. Again, we're not here pushing anything. This is just an option y'all can consider. One other option you could consider is simply going contributory and keeping the legacy plan in place. That puts some skin in the game for new hires from that point forward. And again, that would only affect new hires. Your folks that are grandfathered non-contributory stay non-contributory. But that's a much slower turn to seeing the financial impact and savings for the county versus going into a new plan structure that kind of has that TCRS and 401k required components both happening at the same time. All right. I'll open it up to any questions y'all may have. And if you want to ask James, you can ask him too. I'm sure he'd love to take some.
Commissioners, any questions?
All right. With that, I'll turn it back to you all. Thank you all for letting us be here tonight. It's good to see you all. We'll be in touch if y'all need anything, okay?
Sorry about that. Our first resolution is to discuss a resolution approving the condemnation resolution. Before we do that, I want to mention to the chairman, it would be my recommendation that we go into executive committee meeting.
Before we do that, let's go back to the prior presentation. Is there any motion or recommendation that we move forward with the hybrid plan? Is there any motion? Maybe a quick suggestion. We don't have to do anything. We can wait. But maybe a suggestion would be to consider this and have a resolution presented at our August meeting for us to vote on. Does that sound like something that you guys would go for?
Mr. Chair, what committee would this originate in?
So typically budget, and I want to emphasize, Drew gave you kind of a 2-year comparison, right? I think it was 12, a little right at 12% last year, and this year it's 13.62. I think it was 12.3 or something last year. I think one of the things that we look at, right, in budgeting is a trend. So when I first got here 4 years ago, we were at 10% or 10.18, and now we're at 13.62. So this is definitely something that we don't want it to get to 15 or 16%. I'm not pushing a change. I'm saying we need to be prepared. If we don't want to change, we have to be prepared for that additional cost. Because every time now that we give raises, right now a 1% raise costs us between 1 and 1.5 million, but as our salaries creep up, a 1% raise may cost 2 million or 2.5 million. Well, that's the direct impact that if next year our rate jumps to 14.62, it may cost us over a penny on the tax rate next year. So that was the point of the presentation tonight. Budget committee wanted to get it in front of the full commission to be aware of how impactful this is to our budget every year. And then to answer Commissioner Gooch's question, my understanding is that it's always originated in budget in the past.
Okay, and the deadline to get this going for July the 1st, I think will be December. But we can, up to the chairman to bring it to the August committee meeting.
I would suggest that that a resolution to adopt would be presented to our next budget committee and let them forward either a positive or negative recommendation to the full commission at our August meeting.
One thing I want to mention is you've heard the presentation. I hope a lot of you went back and looked at the presentation. From the lack of questions, I assume most of you have, and I appreciate that. But any discussion we have going forward, I also want Ms. Stevenson involved with that discussion and compare the price or the cost. And we can do that. Our next meeting's, August 24th, I guess. But at any rate, that needs to be part of the discussion so we can see both sides. And Drew did a very good job of showing this. And again, if you've got questions, please go back and review that longer presentation.
Okay, so without I'm sorry, Commissioner Irvin.
Just a quick question. So we're considering at the Budget Committee and at the next commission a change to the hybrid plan?
Effective July 1st of next year.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Beverly.
I want to make sure I understand, we're considering it in August, but we have until December to decide?
Yes, Michael, could you kind of...
So there's a couple steps to this, and Drew hinted at this part. I'm looking at Drew, too, to make sure I don't say this wrong. I think if this is something that y'all would like to explore, I think the best course of action, Drew and James could provide us with those resolutions, as he mentioned. There's a couple steps to take. I don't know that we would obviously take the final step in August, but because it could take one or two steps, and we have to make some plans to get this moving. This is a big change for us in the payroll office and stuff like that. I don't know that everything will be finished in August, but we can't wait and start at the very last meeting in December, I think is the thing. So I think if y'all would like for me to explore this, I can get with Sonia. Me and Sonia have talked about this before this presentation. I think the next step would be for me to get the draft resolutions from Treasury. We could present those either if y'all would like next month, and let budget explore that option between maybe do we go five contributory, do we go to the hybrid? And I think then maybe we could present some more data facts to either the commission, and then you could finalize it in September if you would like, or maybe October. I would highly request that you don't do it in the last of December because we're getting W-2s out and everything else like that. But to answer your question, I don't think we have to finalize it in August. I think that would be the first step, is for me to get those draft resolutions. We can share those with the Budget Committee in this body, and then really put the numbers to, do you want to go to contributory? Do you want to stay the same? Do you want to go to the hybrid? I think those are really our three options. The 10-year vesting for us, we kind of looked at that, but that's off the table. We did kind of explore that just so the body knows. We did explore that, but that's off the table. But I guess that would be, I don't know that we would have to finish it in August, but we could at least start getting those draft resolutions. I just don't want this to creep up on us and then it's too late and then we kick it another year before we actually do the math and present y'all with the actual data of what y'all would want to do. Does that help you?
It does, and that goes to my point of it allows us to give the employees enough heads up of how their retirement would be changing, but we're not moving in such a monumental decision to decide in just 1 month. So it gives us a little bit of time, maybe establish a direction, but give us a little bit more on which option, because that's a lot to digest in just 30 days.
Which is definitely why we gave that presentation of budget, and that's why we didn't have a resolution prepared tonight. We wanted y'all to hear directly from the Department of Treasury, not from me, not from Sonia, because they're definitely independent. I'm biased to our budget, right? That's my job to protect us on the budgetary aspect. But I think there's multiple options that we would have as a body. And I want to reiterate one thing, because we'll get a call tomorrow. This will not affect any current employees. The county, we pay about 10,000 employees a month. Of those, 6,000 to 7,000 are teachers. They are already on this hybrid plan. What we're talking about is something that would affect that remaining 3,000 or 4,000, that remaining 30 or 40%. Just as we look at this, y'all can see the gravity. But that's why there was nothing prepared tonight. We were not trying to rush anything. We know this is a big decision, and that's why they were willing to come back and give us two. But if y'all would like, I can definitely get those draft resolution options prepared, and me and Sonia can then put some things on paper in whatever direction y'all would like to go.
Thank you.
Commissioner James.
I'd also like to see a study on how this will affect future new hires, because right now this is the one benefit that is kind of the shining thing on the hill that helps keep us where otherwise we're just chasing our salary caps every year. We're trying to get more back and forth and chasing our neighbors and competing with them. So I'm wondering, what I'm getting at with all that is how will that affect our recruitment, our retention, and so on that program? Because on that hybrid slide, it was a lot of speculation, a lot of maybes, if a 6%, if you stay in a full 30 years. So if not, because I can see in just a few short years, we'll be right back to just chasing the salary.
So you're hitting one of the questions that started this conversation, and part of this conversation was looking at recruitment. As we work at the budget every year, as I do, as the mayor's office, and as Sonia, the HR, look at this, one of the questions, and we've met with several of the public safety departments, including the sheriff's office, one of the issues we're having is if you take the city of Murfreesboro, who does not have a pension system, I believe, I'm going to look at Sonia in the back, I believe they match up to 6 or 8%, but the employee has to put money in. Am I close, Sonia? 9? Anyways, it's less than 10. I do know it's less than 10. But for my analogy here, they're putting in somewhere between 8 and 10% or matching. We're already at 13.62. And so, in my example is, we may be close on total compensation with the city. But when we've met with the sheriff's office or fire or EMS, they're coming to us saying, hey, my new deputy needs an extra 5% for us to compete with Murfreesboro. And so as we look at ways to maybe compete with them, that was part of our conversation, is looking at total compensation. What would our employee want? Does that full legacy plan, do they value that enough? And maybe they do, and we shouldn't change. If they want more take-home pay, they want more pay up front to take with them, then we have to look at this option, because otherwise, if I were to match the city on a gross salary take-home pay, but their retirement contribution, let's say, is 8%, and I'm 13.62, then our total compensation is a lot more, and that affects the amount of raises we can give every year without a tax increase. So, I mean, you hit the nail on the head as far as that's kind of why we started looking at this, is how can we, as we talk to our new employees, what do they value? Do they value the legacy, or do they value the more money up front? And that's one of the options of why we looked at the hybrid, because at least with this, one of the pros and the cons is that if we have a 4-year employee and they were to leave us, which we don't want, but if they could, now they have a 401k benefit that is theirs, that they vest immediately. Because if we have a employee that works with us 4 years and they were to leave at 4.5 years, they would get no retirement from us. And so that we have heard, and my understanding is, that has also affected our recruitment, at least in looking at the sheriff and the fire and our public safety realm. So my hope is that me and Sonia can come back with some data for you to show how that would affect recruiting, and maybe what do our employees want? Do they want it as part of total compensation and retirement, or do they want it more into the gross take-home pay? So I hope that answers your question.
I'd like that data and time to digest it before.
Commissioner James. Any other questions? So without objection, we'll put a resolution together and present it to budget, for budget to consider, and then forward on to the commission in August. Okay, Chairman P. just mentioned the next item on our agenda is item MB, and that's a resolution approving a condemnation resolution. Budget went through an executive session, and there was a lot of information shared that are legal information, and without any objection, this governing body will also go into executive session immediately. Did you have something, Commissioner Piercy?
I did. The landowners have their attorney here tonight to brief us on a little information that we probably need to hear before we go into executive session. Based on they can't attend executive session.
Well, that's right. They can attend. I kind of agree with Nick. I guess it doesn't matter. If you wanted to...
I will make the motion to suspend the rules and let Joshua Denton speak to us for a brief point of time, 5 to 6 minutes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to suspend the rules to allow Joshua Denton to address the condemnation resolution, and he has 5 minutes. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Motion to approve carries. Thank you. 5 minutes. Mr. Denton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Commissioners, for the time. I'm Joshua Denton. I represent the landowners of the parcel in question that is the subject of the condemnation resolution. We did not, the landowners, to my knowledge, did not get knowledge that this was happening tonight. We just happened to find that out last night. And what really struck me when I read the resolution was the range of value for the property, because that is listed as $14 to $18 million. Just to give some background, I've had discussions with one of the county's lawyers this spring about potential acquisition of the property by the county. I provided an appraisal that was done by the city of Murfreesboro in connection with a taking of some roadway widening several years ago that was well in excess of the $14 to $18 million range. The property owners actually engaged in a very competitive sale process this spring. And the broker's here tonight and would be happy to speak to y'all if you wanted to, but that process yielded 30 offers on the property. The county made an offer. There was a letter of intent submitted by the county mayor on April 22nd for valuation at $23,782,000, which again is significantly higher than this $14 to $18 million range that's in the resolution, which is perplexing to us on that standpoint. And of the 30 offers that were received in the process, 5 or more were $35 million or more, and the property's under contract deep into due diligence with a contract price bumping up against $40 million. So I just want the commission to be aware that while the landowner would object to the condemnation process, the numbers that are in this resolution are far below what the county has already proposed and what was rejected in the open sales acquisition process. And my understanding is that there's a comp, and again, the broker's here, he can speak to that, but that there's a comp as recently as last week that supports that type of acquisition price, the contract acquisition price. And, from a tax revenue standpoint, the type of project that's proposed would bump up against $1 million in taxes annually, somewhere in the $900,000 range, a lot of which would go to the county in perpetuity. So, the client is plowing forward with this contract that was executed now well over a month ago. They're deep in diligence, heading to closing, and they do object to the concept of the taking, and certainly looking at the resolution and the price range that's given, it just is so far below what market is and what the county even proposed. So we found this about this last night, not because we got notice, because somebody saw a news article and picked it up. So we're here on a very quick basis. So I appreciate you suspending the rules and letting us talk to you. But we wanted this commission to understand some of the history about the pricing here that's gone on, and the fact that this property was put up for sale this spring and is under contract. So glad to answer any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
This time we'll be in executive session, and the commission will meet in room 205 for our executive session. This time I'll call the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners back into order. And let me just make a really quick statement. The commission was meeting with our legal counsel to discuss the upcoming topics on our agenda in detail. No deliberations or no decisions were reached. And at this time, I'll turn the floor back over to our Budget Chairman, Robert P.
Okay, the resolution we're looking at is approving the condemnation resolution. I'm going to call on our county attorney to read this. We've got about 3 pages here, and the legal leads on this.
Yeah.
I'm going to pass the buck and hand that over to Nick.
Happy to. I just feel for the crowd having to listen to my voice, so I'll try to go through as quickly as I can. All right. This is a resolution authorizing acquisition of property for public safety, justice, campus purposes, including authorization to negotiate and initiate eminent domain proceedings. Whereas Rutherford County previously approved funding for the programming phase of architectural and engineering services for a future sheriff's office and jail project, and whereas the county's existing jail and sheriff's office facilities are operating beyond their original design capacity and present long-term operational, security, circulation, infrastructure, ADA, life safety, Tennessee Corrections Institute compliance, and expansion concerns. And whereas the county has identified certain real property consisting of approximately 52.67 acres identified as Rutherford County parcel ID number 102-051.00-000, also known as the property, as a suitable and necessary site for a new public safety and justice center campus, including a new jail, sheriff's office, sheriff's station, law enforcement, detention, correctional, emergency communications, administrative training, and related public safety facilities. And whereas the property is located adjacent to the Rutherford County Correctional Workhouse and near existing county public safety and justice facilities, including the Rutherford County Juvenile Detention Center, and is conveniently located near Interstate 24, downtown Murfreesboro, and the Rutherford County Judicial Center. And whereas development of the property as a public safety and justice center campus will promote operational efficiency, improved coordination, centralized dispatch and emergency communications, shared services, reduced duplication of services, improved inmate and detainee movement, reduced transportation burdens, enhanced security and better use of county resources, and improved public safety. And whereas acquisition and development of the property for jail, correctional, sheriff's office, law enforcement, emergency communications, emergency services, justice center, and other public buildings and facilities, including but not limited to public buildings and facilities for public safety purposes, constitutes a public use and public purpose. And whereas the County Commission finds that the property is necessary for this public use because of the property's size, location, proximity to existing county justice and correctional facilities, transportation access, and ability to support a coordinated long-term public safety campus. And whereas the County Commission finds that the county's existing jail property is not suitable for a new jail and the additional public safety buildings needed. And whereas the County Commission further finds that the county has a plan reflecting a reasonable schedule to complete the public use after acquisition, including programming, planning, design, engineering, construction, commissioning, and closeout. And whereas the County Commission finds the property is necessary to achieve the public use for a new jail and county public safety justice campus. And whereas the County Commission further finds that the county has access to funding for acquisition of the property and construction of a new jail and other public safety buildings, together with such additional acquisition-related costs and expenses as may be necessary or appropriate, including but not limited to the funds to acquire the property by eminent domain or otherwise. And whereas, based on information available to the County Commission finds that the estimated acquisition value of the property is within the range of $14 million to $18 million, and the County Commission authorizes funding for acquisition of the property within that range, together with such additional acquisition-related costs and expenses as may be necessary and appropriate. And whereas, if condemnation is necessary, the County Commission authorizes Rutherford County to tender, deposit, or otherwise pay into court an amount within the range of $14 million to $18 million as the county's estimate of just compensation for purposes of obtaining possession and proceeding with the condemnation action, with the final tender or deposit amount to be determined based on appraisal, valuation, and other information available to the county at the time the condemnation action is filed. And whereas the County Commission further finds that the public use cannot be accomplished by using or acquiring other property within the vicinity with the consent of another owner without an unreasonable increase in cost, delay, or reduction in the effectiveness of the property. And whereas the County Commission finds that eminent domain is appropriate and necessary to acquire the property. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners that the acquisition of the property consisting of approximately 52.67 acres, and it goes on to explain the same thing that I did earlier, is hereby approved. Be it further resolved that the county mayor and all other appropriate county officials, in conjunction with and subject to the approval of the county attorney's office, are authorized to take all steps necessary or appropriate to negotiate for the voluntary purchase of the property for a purchase price within the range of $14 to $18 million, with the final purchase price not to exceed $18 million. And be it further resolved that the county mayor, county attorney, and all other appropriate officials, in conjunction with and subject to the approval of the county attorney's office, are authorized to take all necessary and appropriate steps to acquire the property through eminent domain, condemnation, or other lawful proceedings. Be it further resolved that in connection with any voluntary acquisition or condemnation action, the county is authorized to incur and pay such additional costs and expenses as are necessary or appropriate to evaluate, negotiate, acquire, close on, obtain possession of, or condemn the property, including but not limited to appraisals, surveys, title work, title insurance, environmental reviews, inspections, due diligence materials, closing costs, court costs, filing fees, expert witness fees, consultant fees, attorney's fees, recording fees, litigation expenses, and any other documents, costs, or expenses necessary or appropriate for acquisition or condemnation of the property. Be it further resolved that in connection with any condemnation action, Rutherford County is authorized to tender, deposit, or otherwise pay into court an amount within the range of $14 million to $18 million as the county's estimate of just compensation for the property for purposes of obtaining possession and proceeding with the condemnation action, with the final tender or deposit amount to be determined based on appraisal, valuation, and other information available to the county at the time the condemnation action is filed. Be it further resolved that the authorization to tender, deposit, or otherwise pay into court an amount within the range of $14 million to $18 million is not intended to establish a maximum or minimum amount of just compensation, waive any valuation defense, or limit the authority of the court or jury to determine just compensation as provided by law. Rutherford County expressly reserves all rights to contest valuation, assert all available legal and factual positions regarding just compensation, and seek any relief available under Tennessee law. Be it further resolved that the County Attorney's Office is authorized to prepare, file, and prosecute any condemnation action necessary to acquire the property and to coordinate with such outside counsel, appraisals, surveyors, engineers, architects, planners, consultants, and expert witnesses as may be necessary or appropriate. Resolved this 16th day of July, 2026.
Mr. Chairman, I so move.
We have a motion and a second. Before we vote, I'd like to have some discussion, and I think it's important that we kind of revisit how we got to where we are tonight, and I'd like to call on Mayor Carr, if he would, to come up and bring anyone with you, Mayor, that you would like to kind of bring not only the commission up to date, but anyone that's interested in listening up to date.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me give you the process about how we got here. I would say three and a half years ago, Sheriff Fitzhugh came to my office with Chief Deputy Spence and others and outlined a situation that had been occurring for several months, if not a few years, about a significant overcrowding situation at the Rutherford County Adult Detention Center. It was at that point that he invited me and Eric Hennessy, my chief of staff, and some others to tour the facility. We did. That tour of the facility lasted about 3 or 4 hours, if I'm not mistaken. What we noticed on casual observance, and certainly we're not professionals with regard to this kind of survey, was not just an overcrowding situation, but an adult detention center that was in a serious state of disrepair. And I hope I'm not out of line, Sheriff Fitzhugh, when I say some of the mechanics of how we incarcerate the people in Rutherford County for offenses is so antiquated that we're not unable to provide services and programs to reduce recidivism. There's serious overcrowding. We have 2 beds, 2 bunks in each jail cell. We have a cafeteria, a laundry service, and other ancillary services that were designed for a jail for 400 inmates. And we regularly have 1,050, almost 1,100 inmates over there. And so what we have is a jail that has outgrown itself, not only with the disrepair within the facility, but also with the type of services we're required to offer those inmates regarding laundry, cafeteria, this kind of thing. So at this point, I asked Sheriff Fitzhugh, I said, well, how do we go about determining the need? How do we do that? And he said, what I would like to do, he said, I would like to bring the Tennessee Corrections Institute and CTAS in to do a formal jail study of the need and of the situation. And CTAS and Tennessee Corrections Institute are professionals in doing this, and this is what they do on behalf of all 95 counties and the municipalities in the state. And so they undertook a study that I think probably lasted 14, 16 months, if I'm not mistaken, that survey. They submitted that study to the county the first of last year, I believe it was that, Sheriff, 2024? That's right. And so from that study, the jail study group was launched. And so that jail study group consisted of Sheriff Fitzhugh and his senior management team. It consisted of judges, the district attorney, 3 county commissioners, myself, Eric Hennessy, Michael Smith, the finance director. So this was a rather large study group meant to determine the feasibility of what we should do going forward to remedy not just the overcrowding situation at our current facility, but also to remedy the rapid rate of decline that the facility has. and as a side note, I have seen comparisons of why are we building a jail for 340, 350 million or whatever the number is when we can make our schools last 50 years and longer. Well, that's like comparing apples and peanuts, because a school is occupied 10 to 12 hours a day, 5 days a week, 9 months out of the year. An adult detention center, as our law enforcement officers know, is 24/7, 365, constant. And the type of people that are in that facility aren't particularly concerned about keeping the facility in a pristine condition. So we have some particular challenges unique to jails, adult detention centers, that cause a very rapid erosion rate with that facility. As a matter of fact, the Tennessee Corrections Institute has said that a jail will age 3 times faster than any other commercial or industrial building just because of the type of use. So this is where we are. So we found ourselves at the culmination of that jail study group. The jail study group brought its presentation to the Public Works Committee. They brought it to the Property Management Committee. They brought it to the Budget Committee. And so now, Mr. Chairman, we stand before the full commission at a fork in the road, which is, what are we going to do? And we have a choice. We can do nothing. And by the way, if we do nothing, that we run the risk. As of January 1 of this year, we're on a clock, not a formal clock, but the Tennessee Corrections Institute has said that we have 5 years to put a plan together and engage that plan to solve this problem. If we don't, we run the risk of a federal judge getting involved and mandating the building of this jail. Now, I want to be real clear, we're not under that kind of mandate yet, but the longer we wait, the longer we run the risk of being under that court mandate. So we're at a fork in the road. We can do nothing. We can stay in where we're currently at, and we can expand, redevelop. Where we're at currently is in a 100 and 500-year floodplain. It will cost a lot of money to bring that land up to grade so it's above the floodplain, or we can move. The jail study group made the recommendation based on those 3 options to pursue the opportunity for acquisition of the property at Highway 231. How did we get to the property at Highway 231? The jail study group, once they said what options out there are available for property, TCI and CTAS gave us a range. You're going to need about 30 or 40 acres or more, depending on what else you want to do with this. I asked Mike Hughes and Doug DeMasi to do a land search in Rutherford County. And in that land search, it would have to have water, sewer, proper utilities, ingress, egress from major highway thoroughfares. And so very quickly, that reduced the ability of what was available. Moreover, the property at 231 South on Church Street would be adjacent to the current Corrections Work Center. Why that is significant is because the Correctional Work Center has some premier services related to reducing recidivism. As a matter of fact, according to the state of Tennessee, our Correctional Work Center is the best correctional work center with regard to reducing recidivism in the state of Tennessee, and they've received national awards in that regard. And so we're trying to leverage those kinds of things. So essentially, this facility potentially, if the County Commission were to approve it, would adjoin the current Correctional Work Center, giving us some economies of scale that are so desperately needed, like the ancillary services I talked about earlier: laundry, food service, transportation, human resources, and these kind of things. So, Mr. Chairman, that is the summary, and I'll be glad to take questions.
Questions or comments, Commissioners?
And I can't believe I did that without notes.
Commissioner Cush.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mayor, for that report. You know, on my mind, a lot of people's mind is, and you mentioned it, do we stay or do we go? Do we have information, and I think this was shared with the architect at the Budget Committee, and maybe he can, or somebody that sits in Budget can share this. Do we have a cost estimate of what it would take to take our existing building and get it to where it needs to be? Because I know there's foundation issues, structural issues, things like that, versus start from scratch and build
Yes,
it?
absolutely. Bart Klein, the architect, as part of the jail study group and through Public Works and as part of his programming, he created a comparative analysis between the cost of staying and the cost of leaving or going to South Church Street. That cost includes the cost savings that would be attained by the county by moving to the facility, and also the cost savings by staying. So Bart Klein did perform that comparative analysis for the county.
Do you happen to know, or if Bart's here, could we suspend the rules and bring him up and just give us a ballpark on what that number is?
Without objection, I asked the mayor to bring anyone with him that he wanted to, and that includes Bart. So Bart, you can come up if you can. And do you understand the question, Bart?
Yes. Hello, my name is Bart Klein with Klein Swinney Associates. So basically, if we look at round numbers to stay and go, the front end cost, the difference will be about $40 million to stay, the front end cost. So to build that facility, to renovate it, expand it, for a 1,200 bed, we were about 320. To go to a 1,500 bed, we're about 342. To go to a new facility, we were 330 on the 1,200 and 375 to the 1,500.
So Bart, help me with that math. Is that only about 10% difference from
It is.
trying to put lipstick on a pig versus going brand new and fresh?
So the analysis was not putting lipstick. The analysis was much like the BOA. It was pulling everything out of that facility that you have to replace and putting new. And basically the structure of the facility and the bones are in good shape.
Okay.
So if you think about it, the $40 million is the cost to build the structure with nothing in it, is the savings you're getting.
Okay, but my math is right. It's
Yes.
about 10% difference between starting fresh and repairing an older building, right?
Yes, and the big item that is not intuitive is when you renovate the existing facility, there's about $20 million in cost just to working within a secure environment.
Well, was my next question. If we stay, what do we do with the 1,000 people?
We have to build, so the issue with staying is you're committed to the whole project at once. You have to build the new tower adjacent and the new sheriff's station, move everyone out, and then renovate from the top down the existing and then put them back in.
Okay, sorry, Mr. Chair. So I just want to reemphasize. For 10%, and if I'm saying this wrong, Bart,
You're right.
For approximately 10% difference in the amount of check we're going to write,
yes,
we can have a brand new facility, right?
Yes.
Versus trying to repair an existing structure and then deal with trying to house and secure approximately 1,000 people for however many months that would take in the interim, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Gooch?
Thank you, Mr. Chair and colleagues. I guess my comments would be that there's been comments in the public about eminent domain and that we're condemning private property and private person's land for this. We don't take this decision very likely. It's been 20 years since this body has issued eminent domain, and that was for the Judicial Center. Where would we be without that, for example? As a member of the study group, as the mayor said, that when you take the criteria that we would need, ingress, egress, utilities, not being close to a neighborhood, and being zoned industrial already, it narrowed it down to almost nothing. I mean, how many neighbors? I think that Robert P. had mentioned that someone suggested there was some land in his district that was, 7 miles outside the city and 7 acres, and no utility, I mean, you know, there's land out there, but it doesn't meet the criteria that we would need. And I just want the public and everyone to know that eminent domain should be our last resort. And this development, this complex with the judicial, the work center, the sheriff's department, the jail, a future fire administration, and a future EMS command station, this will take us into 40 to 50 years. People complain when we don't plan for growth, but when we plan for a solid growth for 40 to 50 years, here we go. It's like we danged if we do, danged if we don't. So again, I just want to emphasize that eminent domain should be our last our resort. Well, I believe that we're at our last resort.
Other questions?
Comment.
Who?
This
I'm
would
sorry,
probably be a.
Steve, I didn't see you. Commissioner Piercy.
This would probably be a question for Nick. There's a motion on the floor, correct?
Yes, sir.
And the second?
I believe so. Yes, sir.
Can that motion be amended?
It would depend on what the proposed amendment is. It's got to be germane to the motion. So if you propose an amendment, I can tell you if it's good to go or not.
Okay. I will propose a motion to postpone the next 3 items, including this condemnation, out of respect for the new mayor and the new commissioners coming on board.
Second.
I think that's okay. What I would suggest is I don't think we can table something indefinitely. So maybe you put it to be heard in the September term.
Right.
Okay.
To our September meeting to bring it back forth.
Yes, sir.
Second.
I'm sorry. Was that a motion? And if you would repeat it, I'm not sure I understood it exactly. Steve, if you would.
Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to amend the motion that's on the floor to postpone the vote, up or down vote, of the next 3 items, and that includes the condemnation of this property and the 2 items after that, until we come back, our commission meeting in September, in respect for the new mayor and the new commissioners coming on the floor.
Do we have a second? We had a second. Okay. Now discussion, I believe, on the amendment. Mayor, did you have something?
I have a question for Nick. Nick, as it relates to the amendment that was motioned, we have a motion and a second to defer this to the September commission meeting. Mm-hmm. To what extent, if any, would that have an adverse financial impact on the county because of the testimony or the statements by the attorney from the property that they have a contract, and to extent that contract being executed, what effect, if any, would that have?
Commissioner Hall, I can
sorry.
reiterate that. So I think what the mayor is asking is you had a statement from the representative from the property owner earlier tonight where he mentioned that the property is currently under contract for a larger sum than what is listed in our resolution. And I think the mayor's question to me was, if we wait, is there going to be any adverse financial impact on the county in consideration of that? Without going into it in too much detail, because it does involve litigation, I will say that if the property were to close under its current arrangement for the increased sum, that would be a piece of evidence in some way that I'm sure would be used in the case. Whether it's admissible or not, I'm not going to get into. But we all know that when you're dealing with just compensation, the ultimate determination is what the value of the property is. And so if the property sales for a certain amount of money, from now until we do the petition for condemnation, it could have some bearing. I just cannot say either way, good or bad.
Other discussion, Commissioner Dodd.
Thank you, Chairman. For the motioner and the second, I mean, great question. I'm in a quandary on what to do. But Commissioner Piercy and Jonathan, does the new commission do we have more knowledge because of the years of study? Was it detrimental to place that burden on the new commission as opposed to us trying to take it to some initial conclusion? Are we putting a burden on the new group because they're not up to speed or they haven't had the advantage of these years of study?
Hopefully, most people in here will be successful in return that are running for reelection. So our experience will still be here other than the people that did not opt to run in this election. A lot of the work in the study appears to have already been completed. I think we could probably pull it off.
Mr. Chair,
Thank you, Steve.
if I may, a follow-up to
Commissioner Beverly.
While I agree with Commissioner Piercy, mine didn't have so much to do with the election, but more on some of the facts that were pointed out. And I think Commissioner Cush made a good point earlier when he was talking about the 10% difference. But there was one other aspect of we won't be building on a flood zone that we have to build up by changing locations. And I think there's a value in that, along with not having to move inmates twice, introducing contractors into a secure environment, in addition to jail transport for court and multiple municipalities, state agencies, and potential federal agencies coming and using our jail in the meantime. So I find the 10% value, and that's why I wanted at Public Safety to move the direction towards a new facility on South Church Street. But I feel like holding off on almost attaching a fiscal note to $500 million when we've been looking at this for four years for just a little bit longer could provide us with a little bit more knowledge. I'm glad you asked. We might need to be able to see what proposed site uses the current buyer under contract wants if they're making application to other planning bodies. We could see a potential abandonment of the current contract if they're in due diligence, which could help our negotiating position, could hurt it. But we have more knowledge. We could have an enhanced estimate of how much we're going to take out of our fund balance to tender over if we proceed with condemnation by waiting to get a little more information. So I'm not a no, this is not the direction, or this isn't the direction I think we should go. I think let's take pause before we spend so much money, and take pause before we take on the greatest project this county has ever seen.
Anyone else? Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Chairman. We were elected 4 years ago to do a job, and we're here tonight to do a job. This has been discussed more than 4 years. We've had many, many experts, all the experts come in, give their opinions, their knowledge, and that's what we base our decisions on. And then common sense. You say it's 10% difference. It's a lot more than 10% difference, because if you build over where we are, that's it. You're done. You're landlocked. You're going to have to condemn some more property down the road. Another commission is, you're going to lay that on them. We've got to fix, and we can do it tonight. It's our job to take care of now and the future, not just now. The commissions over the years have taken pause many times when they should have acted, but they want to pass it on to somebody else. We're here to do a job. I'm here to do a job. That's what I came up here tonight to do, to continue the job. I don't know if I'll be back or not. Hopefully, God willing, I will be. But I'm here to do a job tonight. I'm not worried about the election. Either way, I'm going to survive. but I want this county to survive. I want the county to move into the future. I want our kids, our grandkids, and my 5 great-grandkids to have a future. And hopefully, they're not going to end up over there on the new property, hopefully, or the old property. But you never know. But the population increases every day. But please, I urge you to just consider all the facts that we have, all the work that's been put in, and consider you want to do your job or not. Thank you.
Yes, let me recognize Bart. He's got a point he'd like to make.
I was asked to point out, so when we talk about first-time cost, that's what that 10% is. I think the big reason to move is the long-term cost. So whenever you're planning for the next 50 years, when we look at the shared medical, education, all of this stuff, you're looking to make a decision of $140 to $190 million decision to save by going. So if you got a new school, if you got this, that's the real reason. You know, first-time cost is these type of projects, they're typically not decided on first-time costs. They're typically decided on long-term operations. So I wanted to point that out.
Commissioner Reed.
Mr. Chairman, I guess I'm standing up as chairman of public safety. When I come here 12 years ago, that was one place I wanted to be, was on public safety. And I had the opportunity to begin there. 4 years as on the committee and then 8 years as chairman. I think in your presentation you mentioned the average stay in the jail is what, 27 days? If you would figure the days I have been in that jail, I've been there pretty good, longer than a lot of the prisoners have been in that jail. And I mean that actually, because I've made more tours of that jail than probably the state of Tennessee has. But I've been over there to visit our officials. I visit not only one sheriff, but 2 sheriffs quite often. I've been up there in the towers. How many of you commissioners have been up in the towers, but have you got outside of the towers and walked over into the fenced-in area and just stood there and looked at the prisoners? Have you been up there at night and ate supper with them? Well, that dropped it, didn't it? I've been there when they used to cook the cornbread and beans. Really good, I'm telling you. How many of you have done Sheriff's Academy? How many Sheriff's Academy participants have we got in here? I started out that way. I want to tell you, we not only have prisoners in that building, we have a whole lot of staff in that building. Do you know that's where every one of your deputies start out each day? Have you been in there lately where they go and where everything's at? But you can go to other facilities, I won't call names in this city, and see their facilities. I'm just telling you, it's time. And the more we stop and pause and say, let's think about it, that's another bit of time we're stopping and pausing. Here's that study. Take a look at it. Most of you have this study, I think. We passed it out in here. I've always noticed whenever we pass out studies on anything like that, I always stop and see how well they were accepted, because it's laying on desk for some of you that you don't take it home with you. I've got a whole stack of studies on this jail. I see Laura sitting here and Tracy sitting here. We've spent a lot of Fridays studying this, haven't we? Right here in this room. We've toured it. We've gone through every one of these books. We know exactly how old the prisoners are in there. This books tell you. how old they are. And I said a while ago, how many of you have been in that jail and looked over the screening? When I looked in there and saw the reflection of myself, prisoners my age inside that jail, it sort of bothers you. But what I'm telling you, we're not taking anything away from the next commission. No, I won't be here. That's true. But I think we're going to actually, if we just go ahead with this tonight, we'll be actually giving them something instead. Because a lot of work has gone into this. It's gone forward from what we have here and what we've seen and what we've done. That's already been put together and ready to go. And it's ready for them to go to work to see what we want to do and how we want to do it. And what they want to do and where they want to go with it. And I think it's something that we need to do and go forward.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Commissioner Oliver.
Thank you. I rise as a member of the Public Safety Committee as well. One of the challenges that I have and that I have had over the years during my tenure is that when there's a presentation to multiple committees, each presentation reveals a little bit more information. Now, I am not opposed to a new jail. I understand that we do need one. I was involved in the motion to roll it to budget. But public safety, it was not shared with us that the county would be taking somebody's land. And I think that's where I kind of draw the line. So with that, the question that I have is there still room to negotiate, or do we just have to take these people's land? That's where I'm just kind of challenged there. And then my second question would be, if we do move and if that takes place, what's going to be done with the current facility?
Anyone else?
Yeah, I can, Ms. Oliver, I can try to attempt to answer the first question. I'm not sure about the second question. The property is under contract right now. It is conceivable that if they close on that property and we have not initiated condemnation, that we could later initiate condemnation, although we don't know exactly what the purchase price will be at the time that they close. So it could be much higher than what we're talking about now, or it could be lower. You do have a representative here from the current owner. He's not made any intimations to us that they are interested in terminating their agreement with the current buyer to engage in negotiations with us at this time. I don't know if his decision is altered in light of what he's heard today. He's in the audience, or if that would be something in the future that he would be interested in discussing.
Other questions? Commissioner Irvin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At the outset, I'm going to note that I'm in agreement that something has to be done with the jail soon. Okay? I think a lot of people agree with that. But candidly, I'm a little bit concerned, a lot maybe, that the commission's focused on too many other lower priority projects before attempting to rush this $400 million, maybe $500 million project, jail project, through at the 11th hour. Okay? As to this amendment to the resolution, I'm going to vote yes to defer. I share my colleagues' concern that condemnation should rarely, if ever, be used. If it ever is used, it should be preceded by an exhaustive search and analysis to see if other property would fit the specific need or problem that the property would solve. It should explore all the other options and should reflect the diligent application of applicable laws and rules. In my view, the Commission has not done that. I'm speaking on behalf of deferring this until September.
Commissioner Pugh, you have the floor.
On the subject of condemnation, to me, when the owners put this property up for sale, that told me they weren't wanting to keep the property. They wanted to maximize how much money they can get from the property. So as far as condemnation, this is not a family farm that somebody's trying to preserve and wants to keep. This is somebody that's trying to maximize the amount of money that they can get from this. And the proof of that is they put it up for sale. Had they not wanted to get rid of it, they would not have put it up for sale. And I would agree with you on the condemnation.
Other questions? Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Chairman. So often, we hear things on a negative, and it's a negative tone to condemnation. The way people say, we're going to take their land. We're not taking their land. Taking their land is like stealing their land to me, and to most people to hear that. We're not taking it. We're buying it, if this goes through. We're buying the land. We're not taking it.
Chairman, Mayor Carr, I'm sorry.
Joe works good. Commissioner Oliver, I want to address the second question you had that wasn't answered. What would we potentially do with the existing jail facility if we were to move to a new location? I think that was your question. That would be, of course, entirely up to the commission, but the idea being floated around is that it would be property that would be surplus and would be sold in an effort to offset the cost of any new facility. So again, that's a decision for the commission to make, but that would be certainly one option for that property.
Other comments? We have a motion on the floor to amend, to, in essence, delay a decision on the resolution approving the condemnation and the other resolutions that follow. Everyone understand that? Ready to vote? If we would, commissioners will be on the board for this. So if you would, please cast your vote on the amendment.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, or anyone who would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Record the vote.
9 yes, 12 no.
Motion to amend fails. We're back to the original motion. That is to approve the resolution to condemn Church Street property. Ready to vote? I'm sorry.
I'm going to try not to hurt anybody's feelings. If you're a landowner, most people's land is their pride. If you're an investor, you've invested in land to make profit. It doesn't matter if it was a farm or a commercial lot. It still belongs to the owner. If the property is acquired by any type of way that both parties aren't in agreement of, it's not right. It's called taking it, Mr. Johnson. If I don't agree to sell you my property, you condemn it and take it, you took it, because I wasn't in agreement to sell it to you. I am not in favor of condemning anything in this county unless it is a safety or a health threat to the public. That will be why I will be voting no on this condemnation. Thank you.
Commissioner Irvin?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. As most of you know, I ask a lot of questions. So a couple that I'll ask tonight. I think candidly over the course of several committees, some were answered, some were sort of answers, and many were not, candidly. A few questions I'm going to ask tonight that I'd like an answer to. Or what are the financial and other risks associated with condemnation? So let me be more specific. Okay, specifically for the record, could a jury award more than the $18 million, could a jury award more than the $18 million that the resolution says is our cap?
Is that for me?
Michael, you, whoever.
The answer is yes.
Okay. How much more?
We don't know.
Is there a limit on it?
No, there is not. It is determined by a jury of Rutherford County peers, residents.
Okay, so, and do we know how much more legal fees and appraisals and due diligence and other costs amount to, especially considering what counsel said earlier about their intent to challenge the condemnation?
We do not.
Okay, so we don't have a clue. Is that accurate? Don't
Yes,
have a
sir.
clue?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's see. If a jury awarded more than 18, would we be required to pay more?
If the judgment rendered was higher than the $18 million, presumably that we would tender, then yes, we would be required to pay whatever the jury determined the fair market value is for just compensation purposes. Yes, sir.
And we would have to pay interest?
Yes, sir, you would.
Okay. Could it give us an idea what that computation looks like?
Generally, the difference between what's tendered into court and what the ultimate determination of value is would be the prime interest rate plus 2.
Okay, so a fair amount. Where's that money come from?
It would come from the county.
Pardon me?
The county.
County taxpayers, right?
The county would pay for it, yes, sir.
Okay. Once the commission condemns it, the county owns it, even if it turns out to fail every due diligence test we perform. Is that right?
I'm sorry?
Okay, once the county condemns it, and then the county owns it, even if it turns out to fail every due diligence test we perform after the condemnation.
Once we take possession of the property, we have the property as is.
Any way to mitigate that risk?
There could be negotiations with the current owner of the property to see if there could be a negotiated sale that allows for due diligence, or if there are other sources in the past that have done due diligence trying to acquire or obtain those. But other than that, the answer is no.
Okay, if it fails the due diligence test, what else could we use this for?
Technically, any governmental purpose.
Any governmental purpose. Okay. This property is within the city of Murfreesboro, as I understand it. Is there completely adequate sewer and water in place to support the new jail and all related buildings?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Has the city agreed to support a condemnation?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure, but because it's already been, it's already got sewer and water and other utilities, I'm not so sure that we would need their involvement in doing what we wanted to do with our piece of property.
So we're just going to ignore the city, is that what you're saying?
No, we could involve them, but I'm not saying we're legally required to.
Okay. I'm in favor of generally including the city.
Oh, I agree. A partnership works best. I agree.
Okay, and while I'm not going to ask for answers right now, it seems there's another overarching question is, why wasn't the study the architect did an exhaustive study? And we've talked about this in several committees, in terms of options for addressing the challenges at the current facility. The county spent a lot of money so far for a study the architect says is not even complete. At the very least, it seems unreasonable to vote to condemn someone's property when the study we're basing it on is not complete? And speaking of not complete, here are some other questions. For example, why is there no evidence of an analysis of all the land available to the county to be used for the jail? Some of that land may very well be owned by the county, and there's some that a simple MLS search would turn up. It's a bit of a stretch to say the property next to the workhouse that the county would like to have to get through eminent domain is the only piece of property in Rutherford County that could be used for a new jail. Seems like a stretch to me. Why is there no evidence that I've seen in the records addressing potential public-private partnerships? Why is there no evidence of potential regional solutions? People have called me with these ideas. I don't know what the jail committee did, whether they looked at it or not. And where the synergies the proponents claim is the primary driver behind condemning the property next to the warehouse, where's the evidence of the spreadsheets regarding the savings that some claim might be realized by putting a new jail next to the workhouse? And looking forward, where's the complete analysis of the cost of condemnation? What are the anticipated legal fees, appraisal fees? We heard earlier, we don't know. Looking down farther down the road, how does the cost of condemnation fit into the overall substantial cost of financing and building a new facility? My view is pretty simple. We need a complete, actual, comprehensive study that looks at all the options, including the ones I just described, before we even consider authorizing the condemnation of any land. After all, what's the rush? From my perspective, the case for condemning the land next to the workhouse has not been made. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Reed.
I call for the vote.
The question's been called for. Second. All those in favor, say aye. Any opposition? All those opposed? Nobody's opposed.
Mr. Chairman, I asked for a recorded vote before the voting was completed.
After I'd already called for it, okay? And after the ayes had already been made.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman, if a recorded vote is called for, then it needs to be made.
This is under our local rules and regulations under voting procedure. Any motion may be put to the board for vote by such means as the chairman may determine, provided, however, that any one member of the board may require an individual vote recorded for each member, otherwise referred to as a roll call vote. Utilizing such roll call means as the chairman may determine in the chairman's discretion, including but not limited to a call of the roll for ayes and nay votes, a vote by voting machine tabulating each individual member's vote, standing in place, the raising of hand, or otherwise.
So what did you say?
What did I just say? Sorry. So basically, you get to determine how the roll call is going to be. You've had a member that's asked for the roll call, and so you get to determine if it's going to be on the board, if they're going to stand up and say aye, if they're going to raise their hand.
The question's been called for, it's been seconded, will be on the board. Please cast your vote.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, or anyone who would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Record the vote.
19 yes, 2 no.
Does that make you happy, Commissioner Irvin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Always good for transparency and follow the rules.
Okay, we've got a motion on the floor to approve the resolution approving the condemnation resolution. Commissioners, if you would, please cast your vote.
Yeah. Okay. If it's working. All right.
Commissioners, please cast your vote.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, or anyone who would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Record the vote.
Twelve yes, 9 no.
Motion passes. Item MC. Wait a minute, I'm sorry. Michael, you had something you wanted to bring us up to date on?
I want to explain that the next three items, I think we can take, for time's sake, if you would like, I can explain the next three if you would like. We could take them together or as separate, but they all now fund the item 1 that you just passed. So I'd be glad to explain any of them in detail, but if you would like to vote on the next three together, since you move forward with the condemnation, you are going to have to move forward with the next item, the next two items which actually fund the condemnation.
Without exception, we'll take them together.
So you can take all three of the next items if you would like together, but I'll be glad to explain them as much detail.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Oliver.
Thank you. I think for the public's benefit, that they should be taken separately, and you need to explain, because there's a lot of questions surrounding this.
That's good. Okay. Yeah, either's fine. Yeah.
Commissioner Oliver, would you like me to talk about item M1C, the initial bond resolution? Is that what you were asking me? Okay.
Yes, each of them.
So the next item is the initial bond resolution. And what that is, if we borrow money for non-education projects and we are not under certain other circumstances, we have to do what's called an initial bond resolution. Part of what's also in this initial bond resolution is it also allows us to reimburse ourselves, and it gives us a look-back period. So it is important to, if we would like to reimburse ourselves for any of these condemnation costs, anything like that has all been talked about as far as the cost of this project, this needs to be passed. This also shows that we have the ability to pay. So that is both in this. What this initial resolution does not do is it does not mean I'm going out to borrow $360 million tomorrow, because I am not. What it does is it sets the process in motion to allow us to reimburse ourselves and starts that process for certain waiting periods and allows for a future date for us to then pass the actual bond resolution, since this is a non-education project. But just to reiterate, I will not be going to borrow $360 million tomorrow, or even in the near future. That will require a second commission vote, which will likely be months, if not a couple years into the future. I'll go ahead and describe the next one. Part of the condemnation resolution, the next one is a budget amendment. Part of the condemnation resolution requires a tender offer to the court. That condemnation resolution had a range in there, I believe, of $14 to $18 million. This budget amendment is for $18.5 million. The additional $500,000 is to purchase or look at things like legal cost and studies. We had talked about different studies that we might need, some due diligence and things like that. That is what this allows the attorneys to do, though, to fund that initial $14 to $18 million that's in the condemnation resolution. I will also go ahead and talk about the next item, which is a contract amendment for Klein Sweeney. There's two main things that contract amendment does. One of them is it sets a fee for our architect and caps it at $5,000 for his consulting services. Should the attorneys need them to either be deposed, should they need to talk about the plans and site issues that are on that site. But it sets an hour or a fee for Klein Sweeney and caps that fee at $5,000. The other thing it does is as we move forward, it goes ahead and also does not authorize Klein Sweeney to move forward, but it does go ahead and set the fee of what that would look like for the total cost of the design part of that project.
And if I could just add on that, Michael, it explicitly says in there that there's no decision is being determined as to the scope of the project, the bed size, the design of it. All that is reserved for future commission approval.
The only thing that does additional financial-wise right now is it will lock us into up to $5,000 for Klein Sweeney's services should they be needed during the condemnation process. I went through those three items pretty quick.
Commissioner Irvin, is this going to be another filibuster?
Oh, I don't filibuster, Mr. Chairman. I asked
Pretty close.
I asked legitimate questions, many of which
Pretty close.
Many of which were I was not allowed to ask in the course of.
Commissioner Irvin, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm voting no on all three, just to be really clear. My question for the finance chair is: would paying for a $360 million bond issuance, plus paying additional condemnation costs, paying for a new high school, paying for new school additions, paying for school repairs and maintenance cost increases, paying for a new road building project fund, dealing with county litigation, paying increased cost of a self-insured health plan, paying likely increased cost of a forensic center and Bank of America building, and paying the cost of living and other needed adjustments to county employees, would paying for all of those likely increase taxes significantly?
You listed several things. I don't know that I got every single one of them. The big ones were, I'm going to recap to make sure I caught all of you.
I understand, and what I'm trying to say is, and we talked about this in budget, the bond issuance, we have up to about 300 some odd million without a tax increase. You start adding all these other things on, my understanding is, correct me if I'm wrong, there's going to be a tax increase, and that's what you're voting for.
I think, and I'll recap.
Make sure.
I'll recap my answer that I believe that I gave at budget for the full commission here. I'm going to focus. I think on budget, I focused on the two large things that you mentioned. One, obviously, is this project we just talked about, and I believe in your question you asked about new school construction.
Yes.
I mean, those being the two largest items that you talked about.
Yes, we talked about that in budget.
So, if in the schools, to the best of my knowledge, have not come and asked us to build a new school at this time. I think they're coming at some point, but they haven't asked. To do both at the exact same time, I do think you would need to put more money into your debt service fund. And the answer I gave at budget was one option to do that is to raise taxes. The other option, and you have a few other options, you could move some pennies around on the tax rate of which we did this year. But to answer your question, yes, we would have to put more money in the debt service fund. Of one of those options would be a tax increase. And it also is very dependent on the timing of those items, depending on when that new school comes, and also depending on when we borrow for this jail.
Okay, and that's fair. And the more of these items that were added,
and you listed them pretty fast, so I missed the ones at the end.
The more of these items, okay, for example, okay, new high school we talked about, additional condemnation costs, that may be necessary. New school additions, paying for school repairs, maintenance costs, new road project building fund. I know that's important to a number of commissioners. Depending on how well that's funded, that would be potentially a significant increase. Increased cost of a self-insured health plan. The more of those things that are added, obviously, the higher the tax increase. Is that fair? Or the need for debt service fund and potentially debt.
The need for more money, yes.
And for operating costs for some of these items.
Yes.
Okay. Is there a requirement that this notice has to be done right now?
A requirement that what?
is there a requirement that the notice provided for in this resolution be done tonight?
There is a requirement for the look-back period if we wish to reimburse ourselves. I think it's 60, it's either 30 or 60 days. And so if, let's say, for example, that the condemnation is filed on Monday, I'm not sure when it's filed, but let's just say for this example, it's filed on Monday, there's a potential I would need this resolution filed within 30 to 60 days to allow for the look-back period so that if we needed to reimburse ourselves, we could. The other purpose of this resolution is to satisfy some of the condemnation requirements, which is to show that we have funding available for the future. But the main purpose of this is the look-back period, of which is 30 or 60 days, depending on the type of expenditure we wish to reimburse ourselves for.
Okay, and the other possibility is citizens petitioning for a referendum.
That requires a 20-day notice for non-education projects, of which this starts that clock of a 20-day notice, and I believe that is a certain percentage of registered voters.
Okay, so this would be designed to 20 days from now cut off that possibility for a referendum.
It's not designed that way. That's just the way the law reads. I mean, we're not taking it for that. But yes, to answer your question, I believe it's 20 days. It does start the 20-day clock. Yes, that answer is correct.
Okay, and let's see, and in response to the number of questions we had in committee, we heard there was no public outreach, community forums by the jail committee or the architect. As best I can find, the jail committee appeared to be guiding the early process, and we've heard that. Never posted a public notice or the like, and there's scant few minutes. I think there's maybe 4 of them on the website that have been provided to me. I'll put it that way. Of the jail committee meetings, and up until a couple weeks ago, all this was going to be the responsibility of the next commission. Okay. I'll go to the budget amendment next, since we're taking them all at once. So this would increase the spending of this commission by $18.5 million through unassigned fund balance. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay, so that means we're going to spend an extra $18.5 million. If the jury awards more than $18.5 million or litigation or related cost increase, where will those funds come from?
It could come from a couple places. Ultimately, I mean, it comes from the county and taxpayers. If you're asking, is it going to come from unassigned fund balance or we're going to borrow for it? I think it depends on the amount and the timing of which that comes.
Okay, so
because the way I understand it is that could be 2 years from now. Could also be 7 months from now. So I think it'll depend on what our cash reserves and fund balance reserves look like at that time, which is why the reimbursement language is in here, so that if we needed to reimburse ourselves to keep our reserves, well, it could come from a future borrowing, but it also could come from in-house if our reserves were strong enough at the time.
Okay, and then regarding the Bart Klein contract or the Klein-Sweeney contract, a few questions. This obligates the county to pay the architect, assuming conditions are met, about $16 million. Is that right?
Assuming that
almost $16 million.
Well, it's in conjunction with, we've already allocated the $650,000, but that is all pending a vote of which you wish to move forward. This body would move forward. And it's set on a certain percentage basis, so it would be subject to if we decided to pivot and build somewhere else or do things like that, but that would still require another vote. This just caps this fee, is what this contract does, up to, I believe it's $15.9 million.
So if the county commission decides, the next one decides to change course, we're out $5,000.
Up to $5,000 if we needed to use them. And you're out the $650 for the programming, of which we've already, and we haven't paid the whole thing because they're completing their study, but I think we've had 2 payments on that, two tranches on that.
Okay, and is the almost $16 million, is that included in the $360 million?
Yes.
Okay.
I just got a head shake. I want to correct. That was not in Bart's 360, so I apologize. So that is not as part of the 360.
Okay, so it's not part of the 360.
No, I'm sorry. You're talking about his estimate or the initial bond resolution?
Okay.
Which was your question? I want to be sure I'm
Does the
answering.
bond resolution, the 360 bond resolution,
Thank you.
include the architect cost?
I want to clarify this. The 360 bond resolution includes any fee related to this project, allows us to borrow for. It doesn't mean that we're going to borrow 360. It also doesn't mean that we wouldn't have a second resolution at some point. But that resolution allows us to borrow for anything related to this project, but not limited to the architect fees, attorney fees, construction contracts, site work, things like that. So the initial resolution is going to be different than what Bart presented as his estimate. Those are two totally separate things. The initial resolution is us setting up certain capacity, of which we also have planned on paying for some of this without borrowing.
Is the land cost included in the 360?
It allows us to use that, but keep in mind, we did an initial resolution that says we can borrow up to 360 for things, and I'll have to pull it up real quick, and it lists the items in that resolution explicitly. So I want to be clear, this resolution is not Bart's estimate for the project, because we will definitely spend some money out of pocket that we will not borrow for. But I will clarify the initial resolution, and I'll read this, is for acquisition of land, design, site development, construction, improvement, renovation, repair, and equipping of county jails, sheriff's office, and other public buildings and facilities, including but not limited to public buildings and facilities for public safety purposes, acquisition and/or construction of all property, real and personal, related to the foregoing, included but not limited to road and utility infrastructure, payment of legal, fiscal, administrative, architectural, and engineering costs, and reimbursement for the appropriate for county for prior expenditures, which is what I mentioned, if we needed prior expenditures for the foregoing costs, if applicable. Payment of cost also for the issuance and sale of bonds are also all allowable for up to $360 million. Now, the plan would be, and I will just go ahead and say that the plan is this: if we would want to fund some of this out of pocket, no different than, I believe the last elementary school we built, we paid for about half out of pocket, so we didn't borrow as much. So I'm not saying that the project will cost 360, just to clarify. I'm saying right now, this bond resolution is the initial bond resolution to borrow up to 360. If the project costs 380 or 390 or 350, we may choose to spend 50 out of pocket. We also have the ability to do a capital outlay note or a bond anticipation note to push off the borrowing, of which we will probably do. But this bond resolution is not tied to the estimate I think that Bart gave in his presentation.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the opportunity to ask questions.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Finance Director and Mr. County Attorney.
Any other questions?
Wait. If without objection, you've been.
Without objection, they were all explained, and we'll take all three of them at once. If there's any objections, we'll do them one at a time. Without objection, we'll be on the board once again for item MC, MD, and ME, all three of them. And these go along with item MB, which we passed. Ready to vote? Commissioners, if you would, will be on the board, so please cast your vote.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, or anyone who would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Record the vote.
Oh, I'm sorry, Sereno. I was premature. Let me do it again. Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, or anyone who would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Record the vote.
15 yes, 6 no.
Motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, that concludes budget's presentations for tonight. Our next regular meeting will be Monday, August the 24th. And of course, that's way out of line of what we normally do. We're normally the first week after the first Monday. So again, we'll meet on the 24th of August. Thank you.
Just a point of clarification. On the original vote on item MB, approving the condemnation resolution, Commissioner Reed, you voted no, and I'm pretty sure that you did not mean to vote no there. And our rules won't allow you to change your vote, but unless you want to be in the newspaper tomorrow as a no vote, you might.
No, that was supposed to have been a yes.
You might want to make a statement.
In fact, I pushed this thing about 3 different times, and that was a yes vote. Thank you, sir, for that. I had been involved in this wonderful oratory I had back here, and by the time I got through pushing that, it was wrong. I appreciate that, sir.
The attorney just told me that someone could make a motion to allow Commissioner Reed to change his vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion passed.
Appreciate you helping the elderly, sir.
I'm about to get there.
That actually brings us to the end of our meeting. We've had a couple of shout-outs already, and there are plenty of things to shout out, you guys. And I just kind of want to reiterate our deepest sympathy for the loss, the immediate family loss of Commissioner Oliver, and just know that our prayers and thoughts are with you as you go through this time. Let us know if there's anything we can do to help you, Commissioner Oliver. Shout-outs. Commissioner P.
Kittrell Ballfield Club has decided to restart our country ham breakfast tradition out there. And they plan on having a country ham breakfast at Kittrell in the new gym there, or our old gym they're renovating, on the 25th of this month. I'd like to invite you all out. Thank you.
Anything else? Commissioners, as we passed the budget in June, this commissioner was looking forward to making the last couple of months pleasant and easy, but they have been anything but. But there were some important decisions made tonight, and I appreciate more than I can say all of your input and this item that we've talked about tonight, the jail, more than anything else, has been a hot button for a long time. And I appreciate, once again, your thoughts and everything that you've put into this. Once again, thank you for your participation tonight.
Mr. Chairman, sorry, real quick.
Commissioner
I
McMurray.
figured Commissioner James would have stood up to do this since it's in his district, but Poplar Hill Middle School is having their ribbon cutting on the 26th. So if we'd appreciate all of y'all could stop by. So just in case you forgot, I'll help you out there a little bit. I know you're busy running for Congress.
I was kind of waiting for a moment, but you just jumped, so thank you.
If I'm not mistaken, that's at 3 o'clock. Is that right? Is it at 3 o'clock? 2 o'clock? Okay, thank you.
It is at 2 p.m.
2 o'clock.
The new Poplar Hill Middle School,
Very
right off of
Very good.
Poplar Hill Middle, the 26th. Yes.
Anything else? Thank you, Commissioners. We are adjourned.